Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I and a few guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by entrepreneur, author, speaker, and educator, Dennis Henson. Dennis is one of the leading authorities in the entrepreneur world, as he has a track record of 5 decades of experience. He broke in with real estate investments, so we're going to be talking to him about everything that he's up to, how he teaches his students, and about his workshops and everything that he's up to. So, Dennis, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me, Chris. It's a real honor to be on with you.
Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, many years ago, I was a band director. My goal in life was to become a college band director. And when Georgia Tech offered me a position, I moved to Atlanta to take the position. And I received a phone call from a big company in Memphis, and they said, "Dennis, can you come? We want to interview you for a position." And I said, "Well, I've got the dream job. I don't need a position, so I'm not interested." But when they said, "Well, we're going to give you a round trip ticket and buy you a steak and treat you like a king," I thought, well, back in early 70s, getting to fly on a plane for a young kid was more than I could turn down. So I hopped on a plane, went to Memphis. They did buy me a steak, and they offered me 20 times what Georgia Tech was going to pay me. So I took the position, and that's what started me on my business career. And so ever since then, I've been doing a number of things in business, mostly real estate. I got into real estate. My first real estate investment was in 1970. So I've been doing real estate for a number of years, along with other things.
Okay, well, you're also an educator, so kind of tell us about that as well.
Well, I went to school at Jacksonville State University in Alabama, and got my undergraduate degree there. And after teaching high school for a couple of years, I went back to Mississippi State University and received a master's degree. And then Ole Miss, University of Mississippi, offered me a fellowship to go there and get my doctorate. And that all happened at the same time that I was offered the position with Henco, the business. And so it was a hard decision, but I'm glad that I went into business because I really enjoyed my life. It's been lots of fun, and I've helped a lot of other people become successful business people.
Yeah, and you also still are president of Vanguard Marketing, which you founded. So tell us about that company.
Well, Vanguard Marketing and Investments does a lot of things. It owns my training and my intellectual properties. It helps with the training. It kind of owns the intellectual training that I do in real estate. It's kind of a holding company. I have a number of other LLCs that own the properties and things like that, but Vanguard Marketing and Investment is the main company. It mostly does training and create training materials, books, and the book we're talking about tonight is actually owned by that company.
What are some of the common obstacles that you find when people are trying to create a mindset for success that they face?
Well, there are certain laws of nature that, if followed, everything is kind of easy. Life is easy. You find success comes easy, but obstacles are created when you try to go against the laws of nature. And most new business people don't even know what they are. They don't realize, so they try to go against the grain. For example, a law of nature is gravity. You have to work within gravity to live on Earth and be successful. That's just a simple comparison, but some of the other laws of nature involve your habits. If you form the habits of success, you'll become successful. But if you form habits of failure, you can't be successful. You're always going to fail. You'll just continually fail. And people are creatures of habit. So it's very important that you learn what good habits are. Zig Ziglar once said, look at what successful people do and do that.
What are the habits of success? Tell us those.
Well, I'm working on a book right now called The 7 Secrets of Success. I started on this book in 1975, and it took me 45 years to come up with the habits that I agreed on. And the 7 secrets are to get your mind right. That's the very first thing. If you don't have your mind right, nothing else is going to work. The second one is to seek wisdom. The book that we're talking about today, Real Impact Daily Inspiration, was developed to help people form the habit of reading every day. And Zig Ziglar once said, little by little, a little becomes a lot. He said, if you just read 20 minutes every day on a 200-page book, in a year, you will have read 20 books, which is 19 more than the average person. So if you read something about whatever your goal is, let's say you wanted to become an attorney. Well, then every day you should read something about the law. If you want to become a doctor, then every day you should read something about medicine. If you want to become a real estate investor, you read about real estate and on and on and on. So you should always be seeking wisdom, but you don't ever stop learning. The third one is to develop skills. Now, in any business or sport, there's certain skills that have to be mastered in order to be a success. For example, in basketball, if you can't pass or shoot or dribble or run, you won't be a successful basketball player. You have to develop those skills. Well, it's the same in business. For example, in real estate, I call the skills the 5 M's: mining, money, maintenance, marketing, and managing. So mining is finding deals. Money is finding the money to purchase the deals. Maintenance, getting the property fixed up. Marketing is getting the word out that you have a property to rent or sell. And then management is managing your business. Now, those 5 M's are not just for real estate. They carry over into every business. Every business has skills that must be mastered, and they can all be narrowed down to those 5 M's: mining, money, maintenance, marketing, and managing.
Okay, well, tell the listeners about your writings, your book, and what they can expect when they read them and where they can get them.
Okay. The name of the book is Real Impact Daily Inspiration. And the way it came about was one day I was on a podcast just like this. It was a real estate podcast. And the host asked me, why are your students so much more successful than the other students? Why is there so many why are they singing your praises? Why are they being able to go out and find deals when other people are having a hard time? I said, well, it's because I teach them that they have to change their habits to success habits. And he says, well, if you could tell my listeners what just one habit that they should change, what would it be? So I thought for a second and I said, form the habit of reading something positive every day that moves you toward your goal. After that podcast was over, I was thinking, that was really the right answer. That could help a lot of people. Wouldn't it be great if somebody would create an app or a book or some kind of a tool that could help people form that habit? And that's when it hit me. I thought, well, I can do that. I've been collecting poems and quotes and success stories for years, for 40 years. And I can put those all in a book so that when people need to form the habit of reading, if they have 5 minutes because they've been busy all day and they didn't have a chance to read, they can take 5 minutes and read a poem. Or if they got home really late and they have to get to bed and they're just exhausted, don't even feel like reading a poem, they can read a quote in the back of the book. Or if they're in an airport, then they've got 30 minutes till time for boarding. They can read one of the short stories or even two. But if they have a layover for 3 or 4 hours, in the back of the book, I've listed over 100 books that I've read over the last half a decade, and I put them in priority order. So you can take a companion book with you, and you can read that for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. So in the beginning of the book, it has a plan. It says, use this book this way. And if you use it the way it's outlined, you'll form a habit that will literally change your life. And where to get the book? On the front cover of the book, there's a lamp. Aladdin's lamp is on the front cover of the book. If you go to realimpactbook.com, you can find the mystery of the lamp. And Curtis, I also want to give your listeners a free ebook, a free copy of the book. So if you go to realimpactbook.com, scroll down to the bottom, it says podcast attendees. You can click on that link, put your name in there, and I'll send you an ebook for free. There's no strings attached. I'm not trying to sell you anything. It's a free book because I know that if people read this book, they'll want to give it as a gift to young people graduating from high school or college. It's a great Christmas gift. It's a gift for a friend, or if you're having a wedding, to give to the groomsmen. So you can also get it on Amazon. Just go to Amazon, type in Dennis J. Henson or Real Impact Daily Inspiration, and the book will pop up. And we have specials all the time so that you can get it at a very reasonable price.
Well, talk about one of the personal stories or quotes in the book that has significantly changed your life or impacted your life.
Well, I love the story about Sylvester Stallone because everybody knows who he is. Everybody's heard of Sylvester Stallone because of the Rocky series, and he had a number of other series. He still is a super successful actor. But what most people don't realize was at the beginning of his acting career, he wasn't doing very well. He was broke. He was living at a bus station and showering at the YMCA. He had so little money. He had a dog that he loved dearly. He had so little money, he couldn't even feed his dog. So he was forced to sell his dog just so somebody that had him could feed him. And he watched a boxing match one day, and he saw Ali defeat an unknown boxer. But the unknown boxer stayed in the ring with him for the entire match. He just kept coming back and coming back. And that really impressed Sylvester Stallone. He said, that was more amazing than Ali winning the match. So he sat down and wrote for 2 days The next time he went for an interview, he interviewed for the part, but it wasn't a good fit. And as he walked to the door, he thought, I'll tell the producer. So he turned around, he went back to the producer and he said, I've written a screenplay. I think you might like it. The producer, just to get rid of him, said, oh, bring it in. We'll look at it and see what we think. They thought he would never return. But the next day he showed up with his screenplay and they read it and they did like it. In fact, they loved it. So they offered him $350,000 for his screenplay. And he said, that's great. The only thing is, I want to be the lead if you do the movie. Well, they didn't like that. They wanted to bring in a well-known star, not an unknown. And so he said, well, I'm already broke and I'm used to living the way I live. So it's not going to make any difference to me. So he turned him down. He said, no, if I can't star in it, I'll never forgive myself if it's a hit. So I just won't do it. So they came with a counter offer. He gave him $35,000, that 1/10. And so he took it. They gave him $1 million to let him produce the movie. And he did it with handheld cameras. And he used family and friends as actors to keep the price down. And he actually came in under budget. And the movie that he came up with was Rocky. So it was shown in several theaters with mixed reviews. But the big test came when he showed it to the Hollywood producers. Hundreds of them showed up for the screening. During the screening of the movie, he just sat there and watched, and nobody laughed and nobody got excited, and he was just devastated. When it was over, they all got up and left the auditorium, and he sat there and was just defeated because he thought, well, I guess I'll, go back to doing interviews and try to become an actor. But when he started to go down the steps after he left the auditorium, he realized that everybody had stayed. They were all in the lobby. And when they saw him, they all started to clap. They loved his movie. And it won Oscars. It was nominated for a bunch of Oscars that year. So the motivation that you get from that was he was willing to give up everything to get, to move to where he wanted to be. And that's one of the secrets to success. You've got to be willing to risk everything. And if you're not, you'll quit when you get knocked down. So that's just one story. There's 40 more, and each one of them have something really important to teach you about becoming a successful business person.
Well, why don't you elaborate on the quote in your book, the law of nature concept, and how that contributes to personal success?
Well, we talked about the laws of nature just a minute ago, where if you comply and work with the laws of nature, you're going to become successful. If you work against the laws of nature, they're not just one, there's a number. And again, it's the 7 secrets. Get your mind right, seek wisdom, develop skills, make detailed plans, form great alliances, and being persistent. Those are the main ones. Now, when I wrote this book, there's underlying themes in the book. The underlying themes is I live in Dallas-Fort Worth area, so I use this acronym, DFW, and then I live in Arlington. Dallas-Fort Worth, Arlington, DFWA. The D is for desire. The F is for faith. The W is for will, and the A is for action. Those are very powerful. Those are powerful laws. If you can use those to help form your life, when things get difficult, you won't stay down. You'll get up, dust off your pants, and continue to go. And that's what you'll see when you're reading the book. You'll see that people like Disney and Hershey and Og Mandino and Zig Ziglar. All of those people had really, really hard times, and they got knocked down a lot of times. But each time it didn't deter them because they knew what they wanted to do, and they would get up, dust off their pants, and continue to move forward.
Let's take a quick break.
Okay, everybody, it's Michael E. Cullen II.
And I'm Sesame and Carta from the All Too Real 2 podcast. We're passionate about movies, TV, and pretty much all things pop culture.
Dive into the chaos of failed sitcoms, direct-to-video sequels, and the quirky realms of cinema and TV.
Join us every Thursday for your dose of All Too Real 2 entertainment.
We'll guide you through debates like whether Howard the Duck qualifies as a superhero.
Ponder if Larry the Cable Guy could be the new Rock or Schwarzenegger.
Discover if some shows and movies should have stayed in the cutting room.
Ever heard of a sitcom featuring that dictator with the funny mustache? Well, we watched it.
We're dedicated to unraveling the peculiarities of pop culture, sometimes with awesome guests.
So, if you're into the eccentric world of pop culture,
listen and subscribe to All Too Real 2.
Available wherever you find podcasts
and on Age of Radio.
Well, can you talk about how you want this book to resonate with listeners who are trying to make a meaningful impact?
Well, here's the thing. If you get the book and read the first part that says how to use this book, and you start using it to form the habit of daily reading positive things, starting with what's in the book and then following by reading some of the books that are listed in the back of the book, you will change the trajectory of your life for the positive. You'll see a tremendous difference. Another thing that you can do is, if you've already, like me, I'm 76 years old and coming to the end of my journey, you can share this book with people that you know and love, your family, your children, your grandchildren, your friends' children, someone who's just graduating from high school and college. If they take this book and use it, it can really make a big difference in their life. If you're already in business and you're struggling, or if you're in any kind of a situation, maybe you're in a situation with someone you know and love, and you're struggling, this book can show you that other people have been through hard times and how they handled it, and you can start emulating them, and you'll become more successful at handling your problems yourself.
Well, you talk about mindset a lot in your book, so tell us about a pivotal moment in your life where mindset helped you personally or professionally with growth.
Okay. When I was in high school, I'm from Alabama, and I loved football. That's all I wanted to do. I was dyslexic. I didn't like school. I didn't like the teachers. I didn't like being locked up in a room for an hour for a class. I couldn't read very well. It was boring, and all I thought about was football. You know, I couldn't wait for recess or for lunch. I'd go out, you know, I'd try to find a football, and we'd get some kind of a game going in the time that we had. After school, I would stay and play football. So the first time I got a chance to play, when I got old enough, 7th grade, I went out for football. They gave me a uniform, they gave me a helmet, they gave me pads, and I was out on the field. And then I saw something really unnerving. My father showed up at school. Now, I'd been going to school for 7 years. I was in 7th grade, and my father had never been to school. I'd never seen him, and I thought, there must be something wrong. So he walked out on the field, he took my helmet off, and he handed it to the coach. And he grabbed me by the arm, and he said, take off your pads. We're going home. You're not going to play football. You're too little. Well, I only weighed about 80 pounds, and he was right. I probably would have gotten hurt. So because of that, I joined the band, and learn to play the drums. I love to play the drums. I almost love that as much as football. And so one time a college band came to school to put on a concert. And after the concert, the band director turned around and says, well, I brought you a little treat. I brought my marching band drum section, and they're going to put on a little show. This was in an auditorium. They strapped on their drums and they put on sunglasses and they started playing. What they played just blew my mind. I had no idea anybody could play anything like that. I don't know if you've ever heard of drum and bugle corps or heard of marching drum section, but they were so good. They played and danced and just put on a real show, and the whole crowd went crazy. So after that was over, I went to my band director and I said, look, I want to be in that section. What do I have to do? He laughed and he says, well, you're going to have to go to college. You can't get in college through your grades. You're failing the ninth grade. There's no way you're going to get in college. You're going to have to start studying. So from that point until I graduated from high school, I brought my D's and F's up to A's and B's. And by the time it was time to pass the entrance exam, I was able to get into college and even had a scholarship. And then the following year, I got to march in the Marching Southerners from Jacksonville State. And I became a member of the drum section and eventually became the section leader of the drum section. So that was the day that changed my life. So if you can have a dream, if you can have a desire, a burning desire to do something, doesn't matter what it is. It could be start a business. It could be become a missionary. It could be to find a wife. It doesn't matter what the desire is. But if you can create a burning desire, then nothing can stop you. I mean, it doesn't, you're going to have problems, but they don't matter because you're going to go past those. You're going to work right through those and get whatever it is that your burning desire takes you to. And that's another law of nature.
Well, what do you feel like are three key takeaways that listeners can take away from your book, or that you hope they take away that will impact their life and that they can start implementing?
Well, I hope to purchase the book and read the first part that says how to use this book, because if they will follow that system and form that habit, it's the most powerful thing that I can think of to help them achieve whatever goals they want. And within the book are a number of things that are going to make them better. And as they read the different stories of how people came through, they'll begin to realize, I understand. Let's just take, for example, Walt Disney. Everybody's heard of Walt Disney. I can't imagine anybody that hasn't heard the name Disney or Walt Disney. And you would think, well, yeah, he's super successful and super rich. Everything must have been easy. But that's not the case. Things were not easy. He had a very hard childhood. His father was abusive. He failed and failed and failed. People would steal from him. He lost everything in his business more than once, several times. And each time he started all over and worked to become the giant in industry that he was when he finally succeeded. But it wasn't an easy path. And it sure is fun to read about. I mean, it's so fun to see all of the things that he touched and the people he changed and the things that today, when you turn on the TV and see a cartoon, well, they wouldn't look like that if it hadn't been for Disney, because he had so many innovations. And that was 100 years ago. But he moved his industry forward because of his will and his determination to make a change.
Tell us about any upcoming projects that you're working on that listeners need to be aware of.
Well, I'm writing Real Impact Book 2 and Real Impact Book 3 and the 7 Secrets of Success. So, in addition, I have a series of real estate books, which I've already completed. I just need to get them. They're in formatting right now. They'll be published this coming year. And I hope to finish Real Impact 2 this next year. And then I've already gathered a lot of material for Real Impact 3, and I've been working on the 7 Secrets for 45 years. So maybe that one will be completed in the not too distant future.
So listeners can keep up with everything that you're up to. Throw out your contact info.
That's true. Yes, if you go to realimpactbook.com, scroll to the bottom where you get the free book. If you put your if you put your email address there, then when something new comes up, I don't send out a bunch of emails. I'm not going to spam you, but if I get a new book, I'll say, hey, I've got a new book. If you're interested in it, and I'll probably give you the ebook for free. I found that by giving away books, people like my books because the stories are so interesting. And the reason they're interesting is because I started with an interesting story. I couldn't fail. The stories were already great. All I had to do was just research them and make them better. So I know they're going to love the book. If you go to Amazon and read the reviews, you'll see that people really, really like the book because it helps them. It helps them become successful.
All right. Close us out with some final thoughts. Maybe if there was something I forgot to talk about that you would like to touch on, or any final thoughts you have for the listeners.
Well, there is one thing. If you go to realimpactbook.com, there's a link at the top on the left that says help the children. So I started a GoFundMe project, and I'm going to be giving these books to towns that don't have much money. They have small libraries. They can't afford to purchase the books they need. And I used to work with schools a lot, and a lot of times their budget's not good enough or not big enough to buy. So disadvantaged communities, schools, senior centers, nursing homes, I want to give these books to those people to help them change their life or to pass along to their children and grandchildren. So if you don't mind, click on that and give $1 or $5, 10, how much ever you can afford. I promise you, every penny of that will be used to purchase books to give it to disadvantaged communities and to the elderly.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. realimpactbook.com. Please be sure to donate if you can. Get that free ebook. Check out Dennis's work. Follow, rate, review, share this episode to as many people as possible. Jump on your favorite podcast app. Check out the show. Follow us. Leave us a review. Share it. If you have any guest or suggestion topics, Curtis Jackson 1978 at att.net is the place to send them. Thank you for listening and supporting the show. And Dennis, thank you for all that you do, and thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you, Curtis. It's a pleasure to be on and an honor, and I appreciate you letting me.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.